Today, we have the eminent resource person in the field of engineering and technology, Professor Dr. A.K. Sir, A. Kandasamy Sir. He is going to deliver a session with a topic called Innovative Teaching Methodologies for 21st century. The future is how we are going to address in terms of students, in terms of faculty, how we are going to equip ourselves such a way that the students also should accept and adapt. So these modern technologies and tools, he will be able to deliver in today's session, that is the last session. On behalf of the management, Principal Sir, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, and my own behalf, all the faculty members and all the coordinators, Dean Sir, and students, on behalf of each and every one of you, I cordially welcome Professor A.K. Sir for this session, sir. And now I request Madam Soumya Madam to introduce today's speaker. Madam, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I take this opportunity to introduce our resource person, Dr. A.K. Kandasamy, Dean, Industrial Research and Development, PhD College of Technology, Coimbatore. Dr. A. Kandasamy sir completed his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering at PhD College of Technology. He obtained his master's degree in applied electronics from Madras University, Chennai. He awarded his PhD degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Bharathiar University, Coimbatore in 1992. Since 1969, he has been with PhD College of Technology, Coimbatore. He retired from service as Dean of Electrical Sciences and Professor and Head of Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. He was heading the Department of Biomedical Engineering from 2007 to 2014. Now, he is the Dean, Industrial Research and Development, looking after the interaction between the institution and industries. He is a former Senate member of Bharathiar University, and he is the Board of Studies member for several educational institutions, including Anna University, Chennai. His fields of interest include signal and image processing applications in medicine. Under his guidance, 24 research scholars have already completed their PhD degree. And at present, there are 3 more students who are doing their PhD. He is the principal investigator for several projects funded by UGC, DST, and AICTE. He has established various research centers at PhD College of Technology, such as Virtual Instrumentation Center, VLSI Design Center, and National MEMS Design Center, in collaboration with industries and government agencies. He is an expert member in the panel of Government of India funding projects. He has visited several countries like USA, Switzerland, Malaysia for delivering special lectures in conferences. So we are very grateful for you. We are very grateful for accepting our invitation, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for introducing me. I like to thank Dr. Vetrivelan for inviting me to give this special lecture on innovative teaching required for 21st century. Now, this topic is very, very essential for developing future curriculum for engineering students. And our Government of India higher education new policy is also related to these principles that I am going to discuss. And these principles are very, very important, even though it is very difficult to introduce directly in our curriculum, and implementation is a difficult process. But we have to think in that line, and slowly we must try to move towards student-centered teaching and learning. Unless we move towards these 21st century techniques, it is very difficult to develop the required knowledge and skill among the students. Therefore, I like to go through the stages one by one. First part of my talk is related to the problem associated with present curriculum. Why should we go for a drastic change in curriculum? That is actually the topic. Then afterwards, what are the modifications required for the new curriculum to be developed for 21st century, and various methodologies to be adopted for teaching. Because pedagogy is very, very important. We have to switch over from the teacher-centric teaching to student-centric learning. Therefore, a shift is required among the faculty members as well as among the students. I like to concentrate on these topics, and finally, I will try to say few words about the new attempts that we can make straight away from the existing curriculum. Some principles I like to share with you so that you can try to implement certain principles without much difficulty, because it requires a drastic change, and we need collaboration of AICTE, university, and other governing bodies to go for the new curriculum innovations. All the innovations that I am going to discuss, we may not be in a position to implement straight away, but we have to move in that direction to develop the future knowledge, skills required for our society. Therefore, let us go into the topic. I will try to show you the slides and then try to explain. If there is any questions, we can discuss at the end. Now, innovative teaching methods, there are number of methods available. Lot of research has been already done in 20th century. A number of research papers were published, and based on those documents, I have prepared my lecture material. It is not the lecture material from one or two references. It is a continuous development taking place in higher education, not only in our country, but also abroad. The innovative teaching methods must be implemented in 21st century to take care of the future needs. Several drastic changes has to be done in our implementation of the curriculum. I'm going to discuss one by one. First part, the opening slide, I have shown some photograph of PEDAGOGY high-tech, and it looks as if it is a 21st century institution, and therefore I have included the slide. Next. Now, our education system so far that is being followed in our country as well as abroad is basically factory model of education system. Factory model means something comes, raw material goes inside the factory, and the raw material goes out with certain changes that is made inside the industry. And same type of process is being attempted after the Second World War, The main purpose of that is to create required manpower for factories and also for farm work. Therefore, the requirements were entirely different for them. And because of that, the development of the education system was done in that manner. Now we are not in that status. We are far away from that status. Therefore, we need a different structure for implementing the higher education. Now, the present education system is called as factory model because everything is actually decided by number of subjects, and then students are given input from various subjects, and then they try to acquire certain amount of skill and knowledge, and they try to leave the institution irrespective of the requirement of or need of the industries outside or the society. Therefore, we have a definite set of subjects, and then we try to teach them, and we try to evaluate them, and we are trying to send our students outside. Therefore, it is only a preparation center, exam preparation center, as far as the education is concerned. That attitude, that approach must be totally modified. Next. Now, if you look at the existing model of our education, we call it as, experts call it as cells and bells model. Why cells and bells model means? Cells means classrooms are on either side of the veranda, continuously classrooms one by one. Students are pushed inside and they'll be sitting in a row and column, and something will be going on inside the classroom. Then they will come out and then go to the different room, another cell. When the bell rings, then they will change the classroom, change the subject. These are all things that is happening in industry. Our education system must be entirely different from that. That is why we need a drastic change in our educational system. Second point is related to the assembly line approach. Students are, whether they like it or not, some core subjects are pushed inside their head, and then afterwards some elective subjects, then some science subjects. They are put inside different boxes and then they are trained. Just like the factory product, they are not considered as human beings. They are considered as a raw material for developing certain products. Therefore, this is not the way of doing things. Next. The fragmented subjects. Fragmentation is happening because we try to, while developing the curriculum required for a particular branch, we try to prepare the list of subjects, and then we try to prepare the curriculum, and then we try to teach them. We are not teaching the subject in an integrated manner. We try to teach them in fragmented manner. Maths teacher will be teaching maths, English teacher will be teaching English, science teacher will be teaching science. Nobody teaches how to solve the real life problem. Some problems will be solved by engineers or the department staff, core subject teaching staff, but that may not be sufficient. Integrated approach of imparting knowledge is totally absent because of fragmented curriculum, because of subject-based curriculum. Curriculum should not be subject-based. And subjects are not there in the real world. Therefore, we have to go for a different approach for developing the curriculum. Next. Now, another another aspect creating a lot of problems among the students is standardization of everything. Everybody must go through these subjects. Everybody must write 3 tests. Everybody must write examination, etc., etc. Depending, irrespective of their knowledge and capability, they are forced to take up these things. That is not going to give motivation for the students to learn more about the engineering subjects. That is why we are not able to find students who who have developed enough expertise and then go and help the industries to solve their problem. That is why this standardization is not important aspect as far as educational institution is concerned. There should not be age-wise promotion. There must be competency-wise, competency-based promotion must be incorporated in colleges. That is what I am proposing. Next, teacher-centered. All the aspect teaching learning process is basically teacher-centered. Teacher takes one subject on a particular day in 1 hour. He tries to discuss something, whether students are learning or not, whether they are interested in hearing or not. He has to complete that topic in that scheduled hour. These are all restrictions. Demotivate the students to attend class and learn the subject. Therefore, teacher-centered concept must be taken away from the institutions. Student-centered concept must come. Students must be given importance in deciding what is to be done inside the classroom. Next. Now we are, even though ICT is available, technology is available outside plenty, we are not fully utilizing them, except in 1 or 2 cases. We try to understand the usage of ICT for education, that's all. We are not fully exploring the advantages and benefits of ICT at present. Next. The focus on content is one of the important hurdle in our present curriculum. Teachers will always focus on the content. They are not focusing on the competency to be developed in the mind of the student. Therefore, this focus, if the teachers are focusing on that topic, students will try to memorize certain things and they will try to write examination and get away from the institution without understanding for what purpose they have learned that. That is why we have to say that what students know is not important to us. What students can do is important to us in 21st century. Therefore, the questions that I have given some samples, what was the name of Gautama Buddha's mother? See, I don't know what is that we are going to derive out of it. All these details are available in a fingertip. You can press the button and you can get all this data in our cell phone. Why do we spend time on memorizing all these things and then writing the examination to get high marks? Therefore, this content is very, very important topic to be discussed for deciding the future system. Next. Pedagogy. Now, when you consider the approach to teaching, different methods are available for different subjects and different activities are proposed in literature. We know everything, but we are not practicing those things for our teaching our subjects in engineering colleges. Therefore, this pedagogy must be understood thoroughly by the teachers, and teachers must try to understand the need for a change in our approach to teaching, and then we must have the objective to make the students learn the subject inside the classroom. It is not attend the class, go home and then try to take the book and prepare and understand the subject. There is no point in telling like that. It is a professional program course and they must try to understand everything inside the classroom. If you want to make them to understand the subject inside the classroom, what is that we have to do? We have to make an attempt to have good pedagogy, good approach in teaching. That is what indicated here. Now, I am not reading the slides one by one. I am giving only the salient features of the slides, and you can go through leisurely after the program. I may not be in a position to explain everything. First, therefore, I have to complete all the 30 and odd slides within 1.5 hours. I may not be in a position to read and then explain each and every component that is displayed in the slide. But overall picture I will try to give you so that you can learn. The purpose of, if you look at the 21st century education, it is not teaching, it is going to be a facilitation process. Teacher is going to help the students to learn. Teacher is not going to teach. There is no need for teaching the student because students has got enough information with them. They can learn by themselves. Therefore, pedagogy is very, very important. Next. Now, what are the problems associated with existing curriculum? If you look at it, there are 6 major problems. We are trying to understand and then we try to modify a syllabus and we try to add some subject, delete some subject. But those things are not helping us to come out from all these 6 hurdles or 6 problems that is there as far as our present curriculum is concerned. Disagreement over ideal core subjects. What are the core subjects required for electrical engineers? What are the core subjects required for electronics engineer? We do not know. We try to decide based on certain things available, and there is a debate is going on. Some experts say that this subject must be offered to ECE students. Some experts say that this should not be offered as core. It must be only an elective. This debate is going on. There is no end. One cannot predict future core or knowledge sets. What is required for the students in the future, we do not know. Therefore, there is no point in fixing the subjects, core subjects, and then teaching something. See, if you say that you are teaching a particular book, the book might have been written about few years back, but the technology might have been developed even 7 or 8 years back. Therefore, by the time the book is published, some technology becomes obsolete. What is the point in taking that book as the core topic, and then what is the point in discussing with students? Therefore, it is not advisable to go for predicting the knowledge sets. There must be some opening depending on the requirement and need. Students must be allowed to select the subjects after registration. Motivation or enthusiasm inhibited, because we are, whether they like it or not, we are forcing them to study. That is not creating enthusiasm among the students. Skill and knowledge sets limited. Self-directed learning is totally discouraged. Individual talents are not enhanced. These are the main problems associated with existing curriculum. For this, to solve these problems only, I am going to suggest certain some methods. Now, I have number of leading educators have given their opinion required. I have taken only 2 experts who have given clear picture about the need for 21st century students. And if you look at the Canadian educator, Jarche, is one of the leading person as far as education is concerned. The world and almost all the universities are using the papers written by Jarche, and he has clearly come out with certain suggestions. Because teachers' expertise and learners' need must decide the curriculum. They say that there is no point in developing a curriculum and asking the teacher to teach and asking the students to attend classes. The students and the teacher, they must develop the required curriculum, and then it must be implemented within the scheduled duration. And that must be the approach. It is not the curriculum development by some professor sitting inside a room, developing some 36 subjects and offering that subject in the college. Some teachers may know some subjects, they may not know some subjects. All these problems are there. But as far as this flexible curriculum is concerned, the needs of the students and the expertise of the teacher must be taken into account while developing the curriculum or deciding the curriculum for the students. One curriculum may not be in a position to cater to the needs of all the students. Common syllabus for all students is of no use. There is no need to generate such knowledge and skill set among the students. We need different students must have different capabilities. Therefore, we need a different curriculum for different students who are studying the same duration in the education institution. Another expert, Tan, has given clear picture about modifications required. Similarly, Ming also suggested certain principles. I have consolidated something here. The content and process must be separated. Process of teaching, content prepared for a particular discipline. They must have separate thing, and the activity based teaching must be there. Therefore, all the actions and activities must be prepared separately. Learning should be based on problems, not on subjects. Problems must be taken. The beginning itself, a problem must be given and students must be asked to solve. Then they will face a lot of difficulties. Then teacher must try to explain one by one, and students must be made to think, and then only they will be in a position to remember. Otherwise, they will be just hearing and they may not be in a position to remember anything. Retention is a problem. Unless they come forward to do something, some activity along with the teacher, very difficult for them to retain the knowledge acquired in the classroom. Subject stress content rather than process. Therefore, another important point that they have discussed. There is no point in going for the present method of teaching based on certain subjects. And the teacher becomes an assessor with power to fail the student. That will not help the student to go for self-directed learning. It will affect their self-directed learning because the teacher taught in the classroom. You must reproduce only that. You should not go and study something else and then give the answer in a different way. I don't like such things. Such problems may come. Therefore, teachers should not be allowed to assess and give gradation to the students. Teacher must be separate, and there must be evaluators or assessment must be done by a different group of people. Teacher as content experts may be detrimental to self-directed learning. Teacher should not be taken as the expert, only expert on that subject. Students may also learn slightly more than the teacher, provided they have enough time and reference material. Therefore, teacher should not be considered as an expert. Teacher must be considered as a guide, and teacher must guide the students to learn more and more. And then they must discuss all the aspects in the classroom. Scheduled class time is another problem as far as the present curriculum is concerned. We must give different students may require different duration of time for learning. Therefore, we cannot equate their learning capability. It is not possible. Different students will take different time. They must be allowed to learn leisurely at home. And that is why that method must be introduced in 21st century. Next. Individually tailored curriculum, I have already told you why we should go for individually trained curriculum. We need a different curriculum for different students. Even though all of them are studying the same subject, we need different curriculum depending on the level of understanding of the subjects. Therefore, students and the teachers, they must try to develop the curriculum for the student. And depending on that, the classes must be conducted and they must be trained to develop expertise in that particular area. Therefore, there should not be any forcing from the teacher side. Student must also involve himself in developing the curriculum and he must cooperate with the teacher to learn the subject. Next. Now, benefits of individually tailored curriculum I have indicated here. It enhances the learning ability of the student, it enhances the self-directed learning, and it also helps them to acquire different knowledge sets. It motivates the students, and we can develop the best curriculum for a student with the help of teacher and the subject discipline. Therefore, once if the curriculum is decided in that manner, if it is tailored to the need of the student, then students will have very high enthusiasm in learning that. Learning will take place with self-directed learning. They will be spending more time on learning rather than attending lecture classes. Next. Remarks about the last century curriculum. Few points I like to share with you. The limited curriculum and age-specific classes of the last century now appear to be obsolete. Age-specific, 1 year you study first year, you go to second year. Now 4 years if you study in engineering, you get bachelor's degree. That type of concept must be removed. And based on the stage of learning, he must be promoted. Some students may learn the engineering within 2 years. There is no need for them to study 4 years undergraduate program. They can be promoted to the PG course after 2 years. Therefore, stages must decide their promotion, not the age. And that is the important concept that we must remember. Limited subject curriculum has to be replaced by unlimited subject curriculum. Unlimited means they are not going to study all the subjects. They are going to choose the subject over a large data that is available in a particular area. For example, around 3,000 subjects are there for electronic students. From that, they can choose the required number of subjects and then they can concentrate. Some students may be interested in a particular area of the discipline. Other students may be interested in other areas. They must be given preference. Now we give some elective subjects, and that too, most of the elective subjects are compulsory elective subjects. They don't have right to choose anything. Therefore, we need individually tailored curriculum and it must be flexible. Then only students will have more enthusiasm and motivation to learn. Next. Now, if you look at the average retention rates, I have indicated here, the retention rates starts from 5%, then it goes to 90%. The passive teaching methods, lecturer going to the classroom and then teaching some subject for 60 students or 70 or 100 students, the retention will be very low, maybe maximum 30%. But when the students are participating in the learning process, learning by doing, and that process will try to enhance the retention rate. We can go up to 90%. Of course, 10% requires assimilation of the knowledge that is on the part of the students. Therefore, in this pyramid of learning, clearly indicates that passive not going to help the student more. Now, the Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy. Normally in our present the class in the classroom for solving some problem, and then we conduct some tests for evaluation. That must be totally changed. Remembering and understanding the basic knowledge about the subject, we must ask the students to learn by themselves. There is no need for teacher to teach. All materials are available in ICT, therefore there is no need for teaching those things. Only teacher must spend most of his time on applying the principles learned by the student for solving real life problems and analyzing the problem. And all these things are higher level understanding requires our change in our approach in teaching. Therefore, we are going to suggest a different method at the end to solve all these problems. Next. There are certain advantages of conventional teaching, but that is not going to help us a lot in the future. And the disadvantages are prominent, and they are going to create a lot of problems for getting placement for our students. Therefore, we must move to the new method that we are going to discuss for 21st century. Next. The roles are changed now. Teacher was transmitting the knowledge. Now teacher is going to act as a guide and facilitator of knowledge, helps the student to learn the subject by himself. That is the orientation. Teacher was controller of learning. Now in future he is going to be creator of a learning environment. He has to create the environment, make the students to learn. Therefore, teacher's role is changing. Teacher is expert now, but in future, it need not be. He becomes a collaborator and co-learner. He also learns along with students new topics, and then he also helps the students to acquire that knowledge. Learning to use ICT is the present method. Now we have to, using ICT, we have to enhance the learning process in the 21st century. Regarding that is related to teachers, change in teachers' role, coming to change in learner's role, from passive learner, students become active learner because they have been passively listening and learning. Now it is not there. They have to learn by the subject themselves actively. Then reproducer of knowledge was expected from the student earlier. Now the future students must be producer of knowledge. Then only they'll be in a position to do research and solve problems. See, the problems in the society, live problems must be solved by the students. They must be in a position to produce knowledge. Then only they can solve. Dependent learner, autonomous learner, the students depends on teachers to learn the subject. Now it is becoming autonomous. The solitary learner, individually students will try to learn. The collaborative learning is going to enhance their knowledge acquisition. Therefore, the learning content is going to be different for different students. Therefore, we need a different role played by the students. The influences, you must be knowing, there is nothing to discuss. ICT is going to transform the method of teaching and learning. It reshapes the content of what is taught. It transforms education institutions, the infrastructure required in the education institution, and it redefines the relationship between teacher and students. Therefore, It is not only just assisting the students to learn the subject, it is going to help in these 4 categories. Next. Now this has been already discussed in the roles. Next, we'll go to the next slide. Now 21st century versus 20th century shift, I like to discuss few points before taking up the methods to be adopted by us. The 20th century time-based, 3 years, 4 years, 3 years diploma, 4 years degree, 6 years PG degree, 5 years PhD, etc. All those things will go away. It is outcome-based. Some students may do PhD even within 5 years of entering the college. Even now it is happening. In developed countries, few high school students have done PhD work in universities and they got PhD degree also. What is the point in having this type of time-based education if that is possible? The student is capable of doing research in high school level itself. What is the point in asking them to go through undergraduate program 4 years, PG 2 years or 3 years, then preliminary preparation for PhD 2 years? All those things, there is no need. Textbook driven 20th century education, now it is going to be research driven. Passive learning will be replaced by active learning by students. Teacher-centered approach is going to be changed to student-centered approach. Fragmented curriculum based on number of subjects will be integrated and it will become integrated curriculum. Printed assessments are used in the old education system. Multiple forms of assessment we are going to follow in coming years. Then material, printing material, multimedia, isolation, collaboration, facts and memorization is replaced by higher order thinking. All these things are changes, a shift that is going to take place in 21st century. Now let us try to come to the main and important topic of my lecture, innovative teaching methods. I have compiled around 8 methods which are clearly spelled out by a number of research scholars. A number of articles have been written by educationists. From those materials, I have collected about 8 teaching methods. These 8 teaching methods that I am going to discuss we may not be in a position to implement straight away. It requires drastic change in our curriculum, drastic change in curriculum implementation. It also requires drastic change in infrastructure of education institutions. Therefore, we may not be in a position to straight away go for the implementation, but we can make an attempt and prepare ourselves to go for a new approach required for 21st century. The first one is flipped classroom. Flipped classroom, the concept was actually demonstrated about 20 years back by a number of research scholars, and the method was discussed in various levels, but it is implemented in some universities, but not in all places, because there are a lot of problems as far as teachers are concerned. Now, in flipped classroom, we try to make the student to study the subject by himself. And then we try to discuss the application part of that topic in the classroom. That is why we say school work at home and homework at school. That is flipped classroom. Therefore, we try to make the students to prepare for the subject leisurely in his room, then come to the classroom for discussion. Our teacher will be clarifying the doubts, and teacher will be giving real life problem and help the students to solve using the knowledge that they have acquired. Now, when they try to apply the knowledge acquired, then retention increases and they will be in a position to remember that without much difficulty. Therefore, we need flipped classroom, and the homework means only preparation of the subject. The first two levels of Bloom's taxonomy must be done by students, by themselves, without the help of teacher. They must come to the class for higher level of learning. Therefore, that is the important concept that is explained in flipped classroom. The second topic that I am going to discuss is project-based learning. And project-based learning, we are going to make the student to do certain projects depending on the requirement for the particular discipline. And while carrying out the project, they acquire certain amount of knowledge and skills that will be permanently retained by the students. They will also be in a position to make use of it whenever there is a need for that. Therefore, project-based learning, straight away, students are made to do or carry out certain projects related to real life situations. There are some universities abroad, they try to adopt this process for their PG program. The first semester of the PG program, one problem will be given to the student. Each and every student will be given different problems. Every student must solve the problem given to him in that first semester, and then the curriculum will start from second semester onwards. Therefore, while they are carrying out their project, teachers will assist them what to learn, how to go about it. All those inputs will be given by the teacher. Students will try to do that development of the project over a long period, and then that will help them to learn the subject without much difficulty. We called this as student-centered pedagogy. It is not teacher-centered pedagogy, it is student-centered pedagogy. Therefore, it will be definitely motivate the students to learn more. Then next topic is related. Project-based learning has been being practiced in a number of universities, not in undergraduate level, but postgraduate level. Then third proposed method is cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is very, very important because most of the work that is going to be carried out by the students in industries are with colleagues. Individuals may not be in a position to solve any problem. Cooperative effort is essential in industries. That is why the industries are interested in making number of groups in the classroom, and they are insisting on the education institution to give importance to groups and group learning. Now, the cooperative learning is successful teaching method in which small teams are formed, and then they are requested to discuss among themselves in clearing their doubts and understanding the subject. Therefore, students will cooperate each other and try to learn as much as possible within the limited time. Therefore, cooperative learning is an effective way for students to learn and process information. There are different elements for cooperative learning: positive interdependence, individual and group accountability, interpersonal and small group skills. Interpersonal skill is also important in carrying out task, big task, especially after joining in the industry, face-to-face promotive interaction and group processing. All these things are going to get enhanced when cooperative learning is introduced in education institutions. Therefore, this third aspect is cooperative learning is very, very important. When the student joins the industry, he will not have any difficulty in carrying out this work. Then fourth one is related to game-based learning. This is also a method which has been developed in the last century and practiced in number of subjects in number of places. But we are not going to tackle the entire curriculum with game-based learning. Now in game-based learning, there are a number of game-based elements such as point scoring, peer competition, teamwork, score tables to drive engagement, to drive the student engagement and enthusiasm. Therefore, here we try to motivate the student to perform a game. They will be interested in doing that, but at the same time, the principle behind that, behind our core subject will also be introduced. Now that will definitely help the students to compare their subject and the game. And they will be in a position to remember both because of the enthusiasm and interest. A lot of video game designs have been introduced in the market for doing this purpose. And even though it is a playful way of doing things, it is going to create a lot of impact, and then it is going to make the student to retain the entire knowledge grasped by him in game-based learning. But on the part of the teacher, it is very, very difficult for the teacher to coin games to make the students to understand certain principles of their subject. Next. Then problem-based learning. Now it may look as if this is similar to project-based learning. It is entirely different. Project-based learning is actually some doing activity. In problem-based learning, it is entirely different. Real-life problem will be given and students will be made to solve. And it is not an easy thing. And if understanding the problem is the first part, then what type of tools required to solve that problem, we must understand and equip ourselves with the tools. Then we have to find some solution. Therefore, problem-based learning is very, very important, which will definitely enhance self-directed learning, effective problem solving, communication skill of the student, even collaboration skills will also get enhanced if you have problem-based learning in practice. The problem-based learning is a cyclic learning process. Cyclic learning process composed of many different stages, starting with asking questions and then doing some problems or solving some problems. But here, the problem-based learning, without giving input about a particular subject or concept, problem is given and students are requested to solve. The students will start thinking about the problem and how to solve with our available knowledge. What are the problems? What are the various means to solve it? All those things he will think deeply, and because of that thinking, the retention will get enhanced. They will also find some solution for such problems. Therefore, this is also a student-centered pedagogy, and the PBL problem-based learning also cyclic learning process. All these things will enhance lifelong learning skills of the student. Therefore, the students cannot keep quiet after leaving the campus. They have to be continuously studying the subject because new developments are coming and they must have enough expertise to serve at the industry. Therefore, it is a continuously they have to learn. Therefore, they must have the skill developed during their studies. That is why this is included here. Then sixth concept is design thinking. It is slightly new. It may look as if it is new. It is also not a new method. It is already adopted in industries. For developing a new product, industries will try to develop a prototype and then they will try to test the same thing and identify the problems associated with that. Then they will try to rectify those limitations and they will go for the product, new product. Therefore, the same concept, new product development, same concept can be brought inside education institution. And that method is called as design thinking. Now, design thinking is a way to define and solve tough challenges. Tough problems are there to be solved by engineers. And therefore, we need a lot of knowledge and skill set to tackle such things. That can come to us only when we adopt design thinking method of teaching. It focuses heavily on rapid prototype solutions. That is what I have explained. Once if you try to go for design thinking process, it will automatically enhance the learning capability of the student. And they will also be motivated and each student will try to enhance their knowledge. Once if this happens, the student solves the problems given to them by design thinking. They must be made to think blindly. We should not ask them to solve a particular problem in a particular method. They must be made to think about the solution first, and then how to approach and how to solve, how to come out with the prototype model, then how to refine that particular product. All those things has to be done in a systematic manner. That is called design thinking, even though it includes the project-based learning and problem-solving method. All of them are incorporated in design thinking. Therefore, this is the highest level of method that is to be adapted for future students. The seventh method that I am proposing here is thinking-based learning. The thinking is the important process that makes the student to learn. If he is not thinking, he will not be in a position to learn. We assume that once if the student hears some subject, they understand and then retain forever. It is not so. Hearing is a process that need not be retained by the student. Only when the student starts thinking about the particular topic, it registers in their mind and it will be retained by them over a long duration. This is very, very important. Students must be made to think inside the classroom. That is why students must be made, they must be asked to prepare for the subject, prepare for the topics, and then the teacher must discuss the application part of that and analysis part of that topic in the lecture hall. Therefore, the lecture hall, there must be transaction, must be going on between students and the teacher. Teacher must answer the questions or doubts raised by the students. Only when the students are thinking, they will be in a position to ask questions. Therefore, thinking-based learning, if you make the students to think about a particular topic, then he will get a lot of questions related to that. Then we can clarify those doubts. Then when the teacher helps them to understand, then the thinking-based learning make the students to understand and keep the knowledge forever in his lifetime. Now, if you study the capability of our brain cells, it is enough to give the message to the brain cells once. It will remember forever. But it is not happening. In day-to-day affairs, it is not happening. There are so many problems associated with that. If the concentration is more, and if he hears once, he will remember forever. And that is actually the physiology behind our nerve cells or neurons. Therefore, students must be made to think without initiating the thinking process. There is no point in going on giving some lecture and making the students solve some problems. They must be made to think. Everything should not be given. Some components must be missing. To identify that component in solving a particular problem, student must be made to think. Now, this is called as thinking-based learning. Student will be asked to think about a particular topic, and then the teacher gives the solution for the problem. And this process must continue for almost all the components of a subject and all the subjects. And of course, it will take more time. Preparation on the part of the teacher. Teacher has to spend large amount of time in preparing the activities to be done in the classroom for thinking-based learning. Next. The last one, eighth topic, is very, very important. Our central government of India is giving more importance to this in the refinement of our higher education, competency-based learning. Competency acquired by the student is the outcome. It is not conducting some test and assessing the performance of the students and then say that students have developed a required competency. The test will not be in a position to give clear picture about the knowledge as well as the skill. Knowledge as well as the skill cannot be brought out. Now, competency-based learning, the outcome will be a complex competency, and that complex competency must be divided into a simple rules and simple concepts, and all of them must be, students must be exposed to all those competencies. Once if the student undergoes that particular learning process, he must be in a position, he must be competent enough to solve the problems that is going to come across. Therefore, competency-based learning clearly indicates that it is related to stage-based learning. Different stages are there for students in understanding the subject. Therefore, the levels are indicated by stages, not by ages. If a particular student acquire a particular competency level, then he can be called as a graduate. He can go to postgraduate program. And if he acquires certain knowledge in postgraduate program, he can go for higher studies. Therefore, the competency has to be tested, and then we have to give the degree or diploma, not based on the mark obtained by the student in the test or examination. It has to be based on the competency. Therefore, this is very, very important. The eighth topic that I am indicating here is very, very important for 21st century. Next. Now, what are the skills required for the students in 21st century? That skill set itself changing. Therefore, every teacher must understand and must try to remember the skill sets of the students, skill sets required for the students. If you look at this slide, you will understand that there are about 10 skills. Out of that 10 skills, first 5, starting from self-awareness, adaptability, communication, collaboration, analysis. They are considered as the fundamental or foundational skills required for youth. Then comes the other higher level based on our requirements of 21st century, digital fluency, ICT requirements, then empathy, entrepreneurial mindset, resilience, social diversity, awareness. All these things, 6 to 10, all of them are higher level skills required for the students. So if these skills are absent, whatever may be his performance in the examination, it may not help him to solve real life problems when he goes out from the education institution. Therefore, these top 10 skills must be understood by every teacher. I don't have much time to explain one by one. I'm giving simply the list, and you can definitely prepare yourself. And these skills must be kept in our mind while teaching the students. Whatever may be the topic that we are teaching, these things must be known by almost all the teachers. Next. Now I have given some references. Now all these references are very, very important. Out of this, the second reference, the Pedagogy of the 21st Century 1.0 by William A. Draves and Julie Coates. That is a fundamental book available, which is useful for 21st century methods. Therefore, it is published by the Learning Resources Network, Learn, in 2015, and modifications have been, reprints have come into picture. It is available, freely available in the net. If you want, you can download. And then you can go through. Almost all the aspects that I have covered here is given, indicated in that textbook. Then third reference, the newsletter, Real Influencers, they have given set of articles related to different methods of teaching, different methods that is to be adopted. And that also gives clear picture about what is required for us in future. Therefore, these things will help us to get clear picture about the future requirements. Then the last one, International Forum for Teachers Education Development, and they are publishing number of articles, number of books on teacher education, as well as teaching learning process, etc. All these topics are going to be very, very important for us. Unless we give weightage to these references, we may not be in a position to understand the future requirements. First, we have to understand the future requirements, and then we have to implement. And then we have to implement the principles one by one to enhance the knowledge level and skill of the student by motivating them, by engaging them, by enhancing their enthusiasm, etc. All of them depends on the method of approach that we are going to have for our teaching in future. Therefore, all these references are very, very important. I request all the teachers to go through these references and read the articles and get clear picture about the future requirement of the job done by teachers. Very, very important. And it is not difficult to go through all those things. It is easy when you allot certain amount of time every day. You can definitely go through almost all the references I have mentioned. There are some more websites in giving information about the pedagogy or teaching methods, and all those things you can learn yourself. You can, when you visit the website, you can get clear picture about what is that we have to do in future. Next. Now I have come to the end of my lecture, this afternoon lecture. I don't want to take much of your time. I like to conclude with the last slide. And if you look at the fluency required, the global digital citizen, in future, all the students are going to be global digital citizen. They must have solution fluency, they must have media fluency, they must have creativity fluency, they must have collaboration fluency, and they must have information fluency. All are different topics, and once if the students are exposed to these things, then they will be in a position to go for self-learning, and they will be in a position to grasp the subject, future subjects that is required for industries. Now, teachers must help the students to learn as much as possible by themselves, and that will definitely make the students to stand on his own leg, and then he will try to learn everything by himself. All the topic that I have mentioned here are very, very important for 21st century education system. Therefore, I request all the teachers to spend some time on the slides. I might not have explained all the aspects of the slides that I have shown, but depending due to the shortage of time that is available with me, you try to go through and try to develop expertise, and we can discuss different topics and different forum in future to contribute something to our education system. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if there is any query or any discussion, we can spend some 5 or 6 minutes to before concluding the session. Question கேட்க முடியுமா? Any query or feedback from the teachers?
Participants, now you can post your queries.
Hello? Now tell me, I'm not able to hear. Are you able to hear me?
Sir, really very good question. Thank you for your lecture.
Okay, you send the message. Indumadi. Thank you for the appreciation.
நீங்க அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு கேளுங்க.
Participants, now you can ask your question.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
There is no question from the participants. I like to summarize. We started our discussion in finding the problems with the present curriculum. Number of problems are there, and I have not given any solution for those problems, except indicating that we have to develop individual curriculum. I have not given much importance to that. Now we have, after going through the problems associated with the curriculum, we have identified the implementation process. The factory model implementation process may not make the students to listen and understand the subject, and that will definitely demotivate the students in coming to the classroom. Therefore, that must be given importance. That is why I have discussed those aspects. Then afterwards, the role changes are sometimes some experts call it as a shift. What is that happening for teachers? What is that going to happen for students? All of them I have discussed. Then I have given the basic knowledge about 8 methods which are popularly available in literature for future educational system. Therefore, this will definitely I may not give complete information about that, but you will get an eye opening on this topic by going through my slides, and you can develop expertise and then contribute to the future generation. I like to thank PAG Tech Principal and Head of the Department of ECE and other faculty members for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing us insight about 21st century innovative teaching methods and then the skills which are required for 21st century. So participants kindly stay back for 5 minutes. We will start the validity function at 3:30. So I repeat, participants kindly stay for 5 minutes. We will start the validity function at 3:30.